Hey, look what we have found. A big sound in a small town. Far away from the bright lights. They're making music every night. Discover what is all around. A big sound. A big sound. In a small town. Big sound, small town. A really big sound. Big sound, small town.
You're listening to Big Sound, Small Town with Sandy Carlton.
Hey, Big Sound, Small Town. My name is Bil Jones, and I am a musician.
Well, Bill, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sandy Carlton.
It's hard to say that, isn't it? It's hard. It's hard.
It's a tongue twister. I think you did that on purpose, didn't you?
Well, you know, I still stumble over it myself.
Yes, that was like the 10th take we did of
Yes. You know, and as you know, when you listen to me, I don't get it right a whole lot. Actually, right now I'm looking at Bill's cup, so I could get it right. Big Sound, Small Town, because I can read it.
Yeah, I'm all stickered up with cups and tattoos with the BSST.
Yeah.
That's even a tongue twister.
That's a tongue twister.
Yes,
the whole deal is. It really is.
So how are you doing today?
I'm good.
It is beautiful here.
It's beautiful. This is a good place. Earl Scruggs Center, nice place. Got a good vibe.
Shelby is, honest to goodness, one of the most beautiful small towns here in North Carolina.
You know, it really is. I feel fortunate to live here. It's a good small town. It is
With a fabulous music scene.
Oh God, there's
People that aren't from around here don't have a clue.
Honest
to goodness, not probably. This is my most favorite place to work.
Well,
North Carolina.
I will tell you that I've been playing music here a long time, and the quality of the musicians here is spectacular. I mean, you can't find that in the other small towns. You'll have one or two people, even the big towns. Right. You'll find some talented people.
It really is a hidden gem for
it really is, and it's a pretty cool little town.
Great history of music here.
It does. Yes, it does.
The legacy here is incredible.
It is, and there's people still here today. There's people here, of course, famous, the Don Gibson, the Earl Scruggs, but then people miss things like Patty Loveless spent time playing music here.
Right.
Alicia Bridges, if you like disco era, that's queen of the disco, you know, and there's tons of people playing out professionally with people that you know of, and they're from here. They're out making their living playing with, and have for a long time. Some come back, you know.
And you know what's great? We've got some phenomenal venues around here.
We do.
And I mean, Marty Stewart was here last.
Sure.
I mean, who can say that around?
Right. I agree. You know,
and some incredible, rich music here in town.
You know, there's a story here from the Don Gibson Theater where Ralph Stanley was here one time, and his band members went across to Johnny Reed's old store across there, and were playing. And the banjo player for Ralph Stanley was sick, had appendicitis. And he calls over there, and they said, "We don't have a banjo player tonight." And they said, "There's a boy standing up here who can play every bit as good or probably better than our banjo player." He said, "Ask him, does he know any Ralph Stanley songs?" And the boy went off on like 20 Ralph Stanley songs. He said, "Ask him, does he have a white shirt? He can play with us tonight."
That's a great story.
So, I mean, you know, there's some pretty good musicians here.
There are, for sure.
All right, let's talk the music business. You've been in it a while.
Well, I have, and I'm always behind the scenes. So, of course,
that's not totally true, though. You play with like at least two bands, maybe more than that.
I do right now. Current projects are Stepside Deluxe, which is our old school country band, kind of in the theme of Buck Owens, West Coast country.
Sure.
And then High Chaparral, which I do with Randy Saxon, which is more of an original Americana. And there's obviously crossover between the two, but that's more of a stripped down.
Oh yeah.
Originals and Americana type scene.
more
which I love both.
more Americana, less country.
Right, and the others
Right.
just the opposite.
Yeah, yeah.
But with my hillbilly accent, that's about all I can get away with are those genres. So.
That's some good stuff. I mean, I will tell you, I will sit here and unashamedly tell you that I've always been a Buck Owens fan.
You know, I grew up listening to, obviously, as many people have done, my parents' records
Yeah.
when I was young, and was steeped in a ton of rockabilly
Yeah.
and Buck Owens and Merle Haggard. That's what they listened to. They
Sure.
were born in the 40s and were teenagers in the 50s,
Yeah.
and, you know, huge Elvis fans, Roy Orbison, Eddie Cochran,
Yeah.
all those guys, and then they rolled right into the country stuff.
Sure.
So I had a steady diet of that, and listening to their albums when I was a kid, thinking, I want to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool stuff. I started my career thinking that because it was the only radio station I could get as a kid was out of Memphis. So I thought all the music in the world was the blues. So I grew up, you know, I wanted to be a blues player when I grew up because I didn't know the difference. And the Beatles hadn't come along, and I couldn't get WSM, so I couldn't hear country music. So only music I knew as a kid growing up was the blues.
And I love the blues. Really
blues.
Love the blues. It's just, I never felt like I could do it justice, because to really do it justice, you really need to be a student.
Yeah, you do. And you know, at the time, you know, I wasn't even sure. I mean, the blues is steeped in black heritage, but at the time, I didn't know that the people that were singing this was black or white or what. You know, it's like,
Just it was good.
It was good, and it was in. You know, you go to church and they wasn't playing that stuff. You know, it's
Right.
like they're not playing that shit in church. You know, it's like.
So we roll in some old country blues like Lefty Frizzell and,
Yeah, it's
and
good
things
stuff.
like that, which I love that stuff. But
Yeah.
the blues are, and it's so intermingled with
Well,
rockabilly and country.
Do you not? Speaking of the blues, do you not play with someone who actually had a wife that was just one of the most incredible blues singers I ever heard?
Tony Rogers,
Yeah.
played guitar with us, and he left us recently for some other projects.
Oh, okay.
And Randy Saxon has taken over, but Tony and I have been playing music forever, and I had the opportunity to work with them at the Double Door in Charlotte, and even go on the road with them some, and support, and just handle things for them and on the road, and just a great experience. And Robin was just, she had always encouraged me, you need to sing. She would let me sit in with the band
Right.
and sing, and she said, you need to get out and sing more, you know, and play. So she was, she kind of gave me a shove to perform more.
That's good. That's good that she did
was a
that.
Great influence. Tony's been a great friend and a phenomenal guitar player, blues.
Well.
And when we were doing Stepside Deluxe,
Right.
Our original guitarist, Robert Nesbitt, I started the band with probably 15 years ago, who's another phenomenal blues guitar player who loved country, and he was a student of Max Drake.
Right, yeah.
He left to go on the road with Nikki Hill
Yeah.
in their act, so I had asked Tony if he would come play, and he said, I'm more of a blues guy, and so I conned him into it, and he his last 8 years has just done a great job.
The first time I saw you guys, it was like, and I knew who he was because I'd seen Robin a bunch, you know, because I have a big time blues influence, so you know, I thought, gosh, he's incredible. Then I saw him playing with you, and I think, oh, he's playing country, you know. I was kind of in shock a little bit.
Tony can play anything he sets his mind to.
I'm
and
sure he probably can.
He is a real student of guitar. He works really hard at it, and
I thought he was a good country guitarist, and I was so used to it being the blues. So
he can shred the heavy stuff, play blues, country, and anything you want him to do, he can do it. So
That's good.
He's just a really, really good
well.
musician.
Adding Randy to the mix is certainly Randy Saxon, one of the most talented individuals I've ever spent time around playing. And, you know, he can play several instruments, and he can play them very well.
He's good at everything he puts
He
his
is.
hands on.
He
And,
is.
You know, we brought him in originally as a mandolin player.
Right.
And he just effortlessly moved over to the guitar
Sure.
when
Yeah.
Tony had to step away. And we're having a really, really good time with it, having a lot of fun. And we've taken a little rawer edge with Randy,
Yeah.
a little less traditional, but
Sure.
it's fun to, as the band stays together, how we're morphing along.
Well,
with it, so.
I played with him being a banjo player, a mandolin player, and a guitarist, and on the same shows on the same night. And and people miss the fact that Randy's actually a good singer too.
He is.
You can't get him to do it, but he's a good singer.
He is a good singer. He's good at everything he does.
He
He's
is.
reserved and shy, but he is.
He is.
And he's a really, really interesting person just to sit down and talk with.
Yeah, one of the most interesting people that you'll ever
we
want.
get on these conversations. We're just really good friends. And we'll get on these conversations about even just not even related to music, just all kind of great things.
We were recording a project at his house one time, and what we used to do is play Jeopardy while we would eat and play Jeopardy, and playing Jeopardy with him, Phil Ruff, Nancy Owen. Those were some good Jeopardy people to play with. I mean, they were. That's an interesting lot. And Randy,
Highly intelligent.
yes, he is. Yeah,
Really,
yeah,
and like I said, I'm just really fortunate to consider him a friend of mine, and we have a great time playing music together because we feed off each other. We once we get warmed up, get into the groove.
Sure.
It's really fun to play music with him, and that's what music's all about.
It
for me. It's my
is.
medicine.
It is.
And that's how I
It-
make it every day.
Sure, it
I
is.
mean, there's not a day goes by that I don't sing or play or write or do something related to music.
Sure, and what I always tell people early on when they ask me about music, I like to tell them, like, if you can quit it if you're young and you can quit it, that or even songwriting, do it, because once it goes too far, you're stuck. I mean, it's not something you can get rid of. I retired like 11 times. I don't know, and it's.
I think we all need breaks occasionally.
You do have to have a break.
But I know I've taken breaks before, and then it's not long. Like, man,
I know, yeah, you do.
And really, for me, playing live is the ultimate. That's just I so enjoy playing out.
Yeah, playing live's fun. I mean,
It's,
it is a lot of fun.
Especially when you've got a great crowd, and that's why Shelby's so nice, because there's real music fans here, and that's just as important.
It is.
As the guys on stage or the gals on stage.
Well, you wouldn't be, I am of people who support live music. I'm big fans of them because musicians would probably still do it without anybody to listen, but they do a whole lot better with people listening.
I think you do, and I enjoy recording and writing and rehearsing and playing. I mean, I can't think of any reason why I don't want to go play music, but when you can play in front of people that enjoy it and get into it with you,
I agree.
That's the ultimate.
And there is a lot of, you're playing. A lot of times you play and you're just background music. You may as well be the old jukebox, But that's part of it too.
It is. Paying your dues.
Yeah, you got to do that. Yeah, you do.
The big ones.
If you play original music, then you still, unless you got like a long string of hits, and even those guys do. You're gonna have to play some covers.
You do, and I watched a really good special on Roberta Flack recently.
Yeah.
On PBS.
North Carolina person.
Yes, and I love Roberta Flack.
She's fabulous. Fabulous.
Her era, she was just the best.
I agree.
And she talked about that, and she said at some point in time, it became uncool to cover music.
Sure.
She said she's always thought of covering music as an interpretive.
It is.
And you can hear folks do songs that at first they're doing it in such a unique way that you don't even recognize it.
That's true.
And to me, that's really the ultimate compliment to the original performer or writer, that they can take something
Sure.
and totally morph it into something
Well, you know,
else.
really good songs generally can be done several different ways and in several different whole genres of music, you know? I mean,
And that's what I love doing, is taking something that somebody's written and taking it to the next
Sure.
level or to a different place.
sure. I know this guy, and he's got this band called Shiny Ribs. And he'll interpret rap songs in a basically a country, well, when he was with the Gorge particularly, but you know, I mean,
Well, Randy and I got to hang with
Yeah.
Kevin up at
I was supposed to,
Asheville.
I'd had eye surgery and I was supposed to go do that. I was supposed to interview Kevin, and I couldn't. So I had eye surgery that day and they wouldn't let me drive. So I got one of the guys from Scruggs Center, the curator here. He was supposed to go do it. We'd set it up, but they didn't roll in town like they said they were going to. And by the time they called, he's still here in Shelby. So we didn't get to do the interview, but
Well, we had a great time.
Randy
that
slayed
day,
it too.
And he did. We rode up together, and we got up there early that day and got to hang out with
Yeah.
the band and sound check, and then in the green room.
Sure.
And I was their side stage while Randy was playing, and I tell you, he killed it.
He did.
They were unbelievably professional and warm and friendly. That was a great band, and I'd encourage anyone, if they're close by, you need to go check them out.
I agree.
That is an experience.
He's got a show. He's got the show down right.
He does.
He's
got some great songs of their own, obviously.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
just incredible. But when he does take something somebody else has done,
he does a good job of
is-
interpreting
yes.
it. Totally different.
Yes, it is a great experience.
Yeah, it is. And you know, he also had a fabulous band, the Gorge, too.
Yes.
Man, I love the Gorge.
And that's of course how Randy
Sure.
hooked up with him
Yep.
when he was David Childers
Yep.
in the Gorge.
In the Gorge, yeah.
Worked together, and so
Yeah, you know, that's good music.
oh, it is.
You know,
Most definitely.
but now just playing is not all you do.
It's not. So I've been in and around music all my life since I was just a child. My earliest memories were my grandmother, who I call Meemaw, back in the late 60s when some of my first memories were her sitting around playing the auto harp. She
Yeah.
was a
That's cool.
big fan of the Carter family.
Sure.
She would sit around and play auto harp and sing to me, and then she would get me to sing with her. And so I would, that was probably my earliest exposure to music, and started out, they had a Magnus chord organ there in the house.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody did back then.
Yep.
So that was my first musical instrument. Sat around and played the chord organ,
Yeah.
and figure it out, and I actually got pretty good at it. And then my grandpa on my dad's side was a big Ernest Tubb fan. So he would have jams at his house on Sunday afternoons right outside of Cherryville, and he would bring his friends, the Silva family, over from Charlotte, and they would bring the accordion and the trumpet and the drums and another guitar, and everybody would play music. And so I got this music bug early on, and dabbling in the guitar early, and had one that just didn't play good, and gave it up, and just would sing to myself. And when I got into school, got into the band and learned to play trumpet. But then I figured out that I like to yak, and it was hard to do with a trumpet.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
In
Yeah,
your mouth,
it is.
So picked the guitar back up, and just got a guitar, that just didn't play good, and I couldn't find anybody to work on one. So I got interested in that in Luthery, building and repair.
Oh yeah, fixing your own since you couldn't get it to work right.
This is before the internet and YouTube videos.
Right, yeah.
So I started beating the bushes to find out, who could teach me how to do this.
Right.
And I found a guy in Charlotte, Ari Latella, who was born in Finland, and I bugged him for about a year to let, I'd go over and hang out, and he's a very stoic, quiet person, but he finally acquiesced and let me start hanging out in the shop on the weekends, and he taught me how to build and repair guitars.
Oh, that's
and I
great.
did that for years. I go every Saturday over to his shop on the other side of Charlotte, over in Newell, and work with him. And then, of course, when your friends find out, this is
Oh,
back
yeah.
in the early 90s, when your friends find out you can work on guitars and you're not some hack, then they say, hey, man, can you work on my guitar?
Sure.
So it ended up becoming a side hustle for me that I still do to this day. And I have a shop in Dallas, North Carolina with some retail and things like that, and do a lot of guitar repair. And Tom McClellan, who
Yeah.
went to Roberto Vin
Mm-hmm.
out in Arizona, works with me there.
Oh,
So Tom and I do a lot of guitar repair. Of course, play music. Also do some construction consulting, contract project management, things like that to help pay the bills, because
Sure.
it's really tough
it is.
making a mortgage and doing all the things you need to, healthcare and all the things you need to do in today's world,
Sure.
just on music. But so
You also
write, play.
you're also on the sound engineering side too.
I do.
How did that come about?
Well, so as you know, when you're in a band, you need to, for folks to hear you.
Right.
It was in some really crappy bands early on.
I think we all are. I think if you're not, you can't really be a musician. You know.
I think that's part of the journey.
Yeah, it
it is.
is.
So anyway, everybody's looking at all this gear and thinking, okay, how's this work? So I decided I was going to figure this out. So started reading books. Like I said, this was before the internet. Reading
Right.
books, going to the library, talking to folks, and started learning how to do this.
Right.
And then I had the opportunity to go to work at the Double Door Inn
Yeah.
in the 90s and the early 2000s.
Sure.
And work with Les Moore and Mark Bumgarner.
Yeah.
And they were probably two of the best
I-
teachers ever.
Well, they were really good. They were really good sound men.
And had the opportunity to work with some of the blues greats over there. And so spent a lot of hours working there in the Smoky Club.
Sure.
This was before smoking was banned. So
Right.
I come home at night and
Oh yeah.
take off my clothes out on the porch because they smelled so bad, and get
Yep.
in and take a shower at 3 o'clock in the morning. And
Yep.
that was my introduction to really working sound,
Right.
being an engineer, and then the internet, and started studying more and this
Right.
and that. So, and then in between and all that, ran a music store for 13 years in Gastonia. at the
Busy
Music
man.
Center. And so I've been really fortunate, been around some really great musicians, had a lot of great influences, but I've always tried to put myself out there and be humble about it and get to know people
Yeah.
and learn and not act like I know everything. And I think it served me well, and I really do enjoy the sound part of it.
Well-
I enjoy making other people sound good.
I mean, that's how I met you. You know.
It is.
I mean,
In Dragonfly.
Yeah, and I played Dragonfly, well, ever since they've been open. And Jamie, I know you listen sometimes, so the best thing you ever did was upgrade your equipment, and the best thing you ever did for that was to get Bill to come in there, and the sound is just really good there now. You know.
Well, Jamie has been a phenomenal friend and talk about just a patron of music.
Oh no, he
live
is.
music.
He has his own version of the double door here.
He does.
I
He
mean-
really does.
I mean,
this is a real hidden gem, and I mean,
It
we're
is.
looking right across
Yeah,
the
we
street
are.
over here
Yeah,
at it
we
right
are.
now. But-
We are.
And I'm running sound tonight
Sure.
for Dale Britton, who's another great musician.
I love
locally.
Dale. I play music in
Deal
with Dale.
called me and said, "Hey, would you come
Sure.
run?" I said, "I'd love to." And I really do enjoy it. And we talked about this before we went on air. I really enjoy working with the folks I like.
Yeah,
being
well,
around.
yeah. As we both know, sound engineers take a beating. Go ahead and tell them.
Well, if the band sounds good,
Exactly.
you don't get any credit.
Right.
And if they sound bad, you get all the blame. That's what I've always said. So,
Yep,
and I consider it a personal challenge to try to make everyone sound good.
And then my take on the very same thing is sound men. I don't care how bad an individual they are. If there's a heaven, they get a free pass.
Well, it's It can be really rewarding.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Anything in music can be really rewarding, and it can be really, it can really beat you down too.
Yeah, yeah.
You have a bad night, and I've worked with some artists that were just incredible, and I've worked with some that just weren't nice people before, and it makes for a long night.
Yeah, it does. I agree, and it's one of those things where you're at the mercy too a lot of times of the equipment that is there when you're running it. Which sometimes that's not the ideal situation, and it's not when you're there. But I guess it's still a challenge to do what you can do.
Well, it is, and you can have the best equipment in the world,
This
the
is
best
true
room
too.
in the world, and if as we talked earlier, sound is much art as it is science.
Sure,
I mean,
it
you
is.
have to have good ears, and
You
have to
do.
mix well. Everything, the crowd in the room, how many
Yeah.
people are there? If the artist on stage could be a great artist and maybe have a bad night, or they've got their guitar doesn't sound great, or it needs some work, or things like that.
Or they keep turning up as the night goes along. I mean, they all do. It's like, we're turning this thing. Yeah, I can't hear. I'm turning it up more.
Right. So it's not a set and forget. I have folks call me all the time. Hey, can you come over and set this so where we can
Right.
use it?
Yeah. It's like,
Well, it doesn't really work like that.
It doesn't work.
It's one of those things you have
Sure.
to constantly. If folks have ever seen me there, I'm everything now. Technology is great now. I can run everything on
yeah.
the tablet,
True.
walk around the room, see what it sounds like. But I'm constantly tweaking and listening and watching and.
No, I think the room rooms change as the people come in or go away. I mean,
It does. It does.
You can start it out and it can be good, and there's a lot of people there, and then as they start going away, it's like, well, it's not as good as it was.
Right.
But now you're right. Say the creation of sound being run by an iPad, you can walk around and do it where you used to just have to leave the board, and you couldn't make the adjustments there. I mean, you can take your iPad and make an adjustment in another room, whereas used to you could go in there and hear what you needed to do, but you'd have to come right back to the board and figure it out.
Well, now I can get on stage with the performers and
Yeah.
get the sound check and the monitors right, and then go out front, see what it sounds like. So it's really helped in a lot of ways. What used to take racks and racks and racks of gear, we can do with a really good quality board
Oh yeah.
and an iPad now, or some kind of tablet.
Oh, I played in bands where they had to run white noise before, which was the most irritating thing in the world.
And now we have RTAs on the iPad, which
Exactly.
makes life so much easier. But you still need to study and learn how to do
You
it.
oh, you do.
You can get into these menus and get lost for days.
Well,
on
I
these
mean,
things, so.
I love to make music, but I will tell you that I am a horrible person at mixing stuff. I've struggled with that all my life. I studied, as you have, a lot, and things are pretty good for a while. Then you hit something like Pro Tools, and Jesus Almighty, there's so much stuff in there. It's like, this is no, I can't do it. Not now, I mean, I can listen and know what needs to be louder or what needs to be different, but with the stuff these days, there's so much to go in there, and I don't really like this guitar tone, but of the 22 sample amps I got in here, I'm not sure which one of them's going to give me what I want.
Right.
So so I like to hire people to do that part.
And I think that's sometimes that's, if you don't know, it's good to ask for help or hire folks
Yeah,
that
I
do
think
know.
I think it is, because I do think a lot of times musicians do think they know everything about music, and they think their ears are good and that they can mix stuff, and then you hear it and it's like, no, really, you're an incredible guitarist or you're an incredible drummer, but you suck as a sound engineer. I mean, there's a reason sound engineers, and most sound engineers, not all of them, but most of them are musicians.
Well, they are. And producers as well.
Producers, yeah.
Get a lot of crap, but a really good producer is worth their weight in gold.
Oh, they are. They are. I mean, that's something that people do not realize either. Is a producer is every bit as important as your sound man.
It is. It is a good one. And then a bad one can wreck a good, band too.
Oh, they can. Oh, trust me. I worked with a bad one once, and it wrecked everything. So, and it's kind of like agents. I mean, there's a point, if the farther you want to take your act, you can, in these days it's a little easier to book places, but then there's a point where you have to, hey, I got to have a booking agent because I can't get myself in the places that I need to be playing.
Connections.
Right.
And that's what they do.
And people don't, it's extra money to pay. Well, that's fine, but if you're going to move past the point that you're at, you're going to have some help. The bigger you get, the more people you have to employ. I mean, it's a shame to be that way, but it is. The more success you have, the bigger your payroll becomes.
Exactly right. And I don't think sometimes people realize when they do that aren't involved behind
Right.
the scenes with the business how much work it takes even locally.
Oh,
to
God.
book a band.
Sure.
To get them there, to get
Yeah.
the equipment, make sure everything's working properly, but just the logistics of getting there.
Yeah.
Making sure everybody's happy. And then you're married to 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
Yeah, you are.
In a band.
Yeah, you are.
know, and everybody's got a different idea of how things have to be done. And it's
Some people show up early. Some people show up late.
2 minutes before the
Yeah,
show.
and when you play with them, you realize that's how it happens. If you're not all riding in the same vehicle, then you realize that so and so is going to be here at this time, and so and so is going to be here. Everything's going to be cool, but he'll be missing a guitar chord. He'll be missing something. You know, people just don't think about that too much. When they see a band and they're on
They
stage,
see the magic.
Yeah, they do.
Don't see, or it's like making sausage. It tastes great, but you don't want to see how.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the same way.
Music's the same way.
Same way, and particularly at the end of the night, you know, it's you're tired, you played, you've worked, you're tearing stuff down, you're ready to go. Because very few times do musicians really want to hang around when they get through playing. You know,
Well, it's been a long day, so you may
Yeah.
only play 2-3 hours,
Sure.
but you probably got at least that much time before you even get there.
Sure.
If it's local.
yeah, if it's local, yeah,
And then if you have to travel, you have to add travel time.
you do, and
Home, you
yeah,
know.
eating.
Yes,
I mean,
and see,
people
that's
don't see
another
that.
thing people don't think about. You've spent all day getting ready,
Right.
And somewhere in here, you've got to try to cram something.
Sure,
in
you
your mouth
do, and
so you
it's-
don't pass out on stage.
Right, and it's not always convenient, you know,
Exactly.
and it sets up for some bad habits a lot of
It
times.
does. And eating late at night.
Yeah.
And, you know.
And there's a lot of
And I
hurt.
love to eat, so that's
Yeah.
always an issue with me. I have to make sure
Sure.
that I don't stop at a drive-through somewhere on the
Right.
way home
Oh,
and eat
yeah, you
something that
do.
I shouldn't be eating.
Exactly. And you know,
And you have to stay healthy.
You
have
do.
to-
You do. And you know, there's a lot of what gets musicians in trouble, as everybody knows, is too much downtime too. I mean, you get your sound check, you don't get to play. Okay, you're in a town you don't really know, you don't really have enough time to do something, so let's drink.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
or let's do whatever it is we're going to do to get yourself in trouble.
Yep, vices can.
Yeah.
You really have to be careful about that.
You do.
And it is, at the end of the day, it's a job.
It's a job, and
It's a
that's how
job,
you
and
have
a lot
to
of
look
people
at
think
it.
it's just fun and games because that's the part
Sure.
they see. They
Yeah.
see the fun and games, but you have to treat it like a job. You have to be professional, and that's what really separates
Yeah.
the good musicians
It
from
is.
the ones that aren't maybe so good.
Right.
Because the good ones treat it like a job.
Like a job.
They get up and, like I say, you could work all day. Even for a local band, you can work all day booking gigs, rehearsing, writing, the gear, getting there. Then you've got the downtime. You need to do something productive with that.
Right, you do.
That's not going to be detrimental to your health
Exactly.
or your well-being.
Right.
And I think sometimes too that's why musicians emotionally can be a roller coaster.
Oh, they
Because
can.
You're on stage with these huge highs, and then you've got this. You can
Sure.
hit these huge lows. In
You
between.
can. You can. Oh, yeah. I mean, and you know, that can also be show to show.
Right.
And when you do original music a lot, you know, sometimes people really like your stuff. Sometimes they're lukewarm to it.
Right.
You know, and it's like that takes a toll.
It does.
You know,
Yes,
it's like, ouch. You know, I mean, here
Or you
you
look out into an audience and you think you're doing a great job, and
everybody.
is looking at their
Oh
phone,
yeah. Oh.
and you're thinking, okay, are they recording us? Or are they
Yes.
just bored and out?
I love it when I get home and somebody sends a video of me playing or something because I know they were paying attention.
Right.
They like what was going on, You know, I really like that. There's two things musicians like. They like to see pictures and videos of and they like for people to dance.
They do.
I also figure that if they're dancing, they're having a good time.
Engagement is huge. Just even the breaks, just the thank yous.
Oh yeah, I agree. I agree. Well, that kind of sustains you to that helps sustain you to keep doing it.
That's the pay.
That's the pay. It is the pay because the pay, as we all know, is not enough. Even when you even make good money, when you factor in everything,
yeah. And I think a lot of people don't understand that is they don't realize how much it does cost.
Yeah.
To perform, especially on the local level, or even touring.
Sure.
It's horribly expensive.
Horribly
especially
expensive.
now, post-pandemic, with the cost of rooms and fuel.
Food. Yeah. And you know, this is another thing too, and this is one of my pet peeves, and I probably shouldn't address this, but we'll use Dragonfly, okay? We're playing over there, you're playing over there, I'm playing over there, whoever's playing over there. And you come in, and it does not matter whether we're getting paid beside what's being put in a tip jar. People don't know that one way or the other. So basically, they're under the assumption probably that you may be getting paid just by tips. And that's well, fine, and good. But the people who come in, if you're listening, this is directed at you. If there is not a cover charge and you come in and you don't put something in the tip jar, you cannot claim that you support live music, because you do not. You know, I mean, I hate to tell you, but if there's no cover and these people are up here working, you know, for all you know, the only money they're getting is in the tip jar. And yet you're getting good entertainment because you're sitting here. You know, if you're in and out, you don't like it, I understand it. But if you're here all night and you don't drop something in, then you're not a fan of music. You can't say you are.
And I agree with that. Because, you know, I know for a fact that Jamie spends a ton of money out of pocket.
Yeah, he does.
To support music.
Yeah.
And he can't share the wealth, obviously, with everyone.
I
because
agree.
There might be 3 people in there that night
Sure.
or whatever, but it comes at a huge expense of the venue owners.
It does.
If they don't charge covers.
Right.
And places around here do charge covers, and that's how they offset the cost.
Sure.
But the places that don't, you need to chip in.
You
and
need
help
to chip in and help. If, in fact, you're supporting both the bar that you're going to, the venue you're going to, as well as the musicians. And the same goes for if you're going to sit here and let a bartender service you all evening and you're not dropping anything in, you're a dickhead.
Yeah. I agree. You know, they work hard to make you comfortable while you're there.
Right.
Drinks,
and they're
food.
Part of the reason you're coming. A lot of times is because they have a nice, friendly staff, you know. But it's like any service industry, you know, it works better if you help them.
Support.
Yeah,
exactly.
Support. Yeah.
Well, you know, folks will pay hundreds of dollars to go see a concert and sit, and they're so far away they look like ants, or even thousands to sit up close.
Yeah.
But they won't come throw a few dollars in a tip bucket for the local guys. And we talked about this earlier, going around on social media here a few weeks ago about, you know, the best concerts you've seen, the ones you wish you had seen, the worst, the loudest. And most of the responses I saw were the big shows.
Sure.
You go to see at the Coliseum, and amphitheaters. And I'd have to say most of mine were local shows. Some I didn't, it was no cover. You went in, you do something in tip bucket, and the show was phenomenal. I mean, I've
also seen
the most incredible shows.
I've seen some of the people who would go on to bigger things in small venues like that, and I'm going, man, I'm so glad I got to see this here. You know, because generally that's when they're at their best too. I mean,
exactly, because they're really hungry.
They're really hungry. They believe in what they're doing. You know, you get yourself a string of number one hits. I don't know. I think you're just then going through the motions because you don't have that drive. You don't have that belief that you used to have. I mean, you're you know.
I've always said the best shows are the smaller clubs.
They are
the venues, the smaller rooms.
They
Those
are.
just like the Shiny Rib show we
Sure,
talked about earlier.
yeah,
The Grey Eagle.
Grey
That
Eagle.
is a phenomenal room, and
That
you see
is
some of
a-
the best shows.
You
there.
do, and that is, I would prefer to say go to the Grey Eagle and see anybody there as opposed to see them at the big venues.
Have to use binoculars or pay, like I say, hundreds or even
Sure.
thousands.
And you can see really good acts in small places.
Yes.
You have to work at it, and you have to catch some of them on the way up, or you have to catch them on an off night. A night that's not a weekend. They're between jobs, so they're playing a smaller venue.
Well, we had Seth Walker here. At
Sure,
Dragonfly
Seth,
here
yeah.
just a few months ago,
Yeah.
which was a phenomenal show. He
Sure.
was going in between
Yeah.
venues, and it
Sure.
was just a
Seth
really
Seth came and did the podcast, and Seth told me that one time he came to Shelby because he had a drummer that played with
Yes.
him. And they had the Spoon Lady here.
Yeah,
Abby.
and I was able to
Yeah.
work with both of them
Yeah.
behind the board there when they were both in.
Sure.
She was a very interesting person.
She
I
is.
had I always try to take time to talk and get to know them.
Right.
And Seth was great. We had some good
Yes,
conversation.
Seth's a fun guy.
I sat outside with Abby and we talked a while, and she is a much more intelligent person, I think,
Than
people
she appears,
realize.
yes.
She is a really, really smart lady.
I busked with her one day on the street in Nashville, and actually made a lot of money.
Yes.
She
She is a performer.
She is.
She's a really smart lady.
She
and
is.
very talented.
She is.
I enjoyed working with her, and she was great to work with.
Yeah,
And
she's
her
a nice
dog was
person.
There, they're just roaming
Sure.
around the room the whole night.
Yeah.
And,
I love, and that's another thing too about local venues. You will take Dragonfly while we're on it. You can go, he's got a cat roaming around in there.
Pinot.
Yeah, it's great.
Now.
Yeah.
She was. You guys were playing the other night for the songwriter night. She's walking around on stage.
Yeah, I
with you
love
there.
it.
So,
That is the thing that you can't get at big venues.
yeah,
you know,
I agree wholeheartedly.
And
We take a break.
yeah, we're gonna take a short break here. I'm back with Bil Jones, and we're talking music. We're talking.
We're missing all the good stuff.
We
off
are,
the air.
yeah. That's the sad
we've been
part.
in here just as long, hanging out and just
Sure, we have.
BSing about
I
all
just,
the great things.
in fact, I just learned something that I didn't know. So you've been a DJ. You've been on the other side too, right?
I have. I was. I worked at 91.7 WSG.
That's a great radio station. It is. It really is.
Got to work with Jeff Powell, and he was the manager
Yeah.
there.
Yes, I know Jeff very well
was
too.
Very supportive and allowed me to get on the radio, and I had hardly any experience.
Sure.
But I had an idea for a show which was called Jazz Guitar Factory, and I played strictly jazz guitar players.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's fabulous.
If I could morph myself into a better guitar player, that's probably what I would do. Probably the least paying musician gig out there would be a
Probably.
jazz guitar player.
Yes.
That's what I really love. And I grew up listening to Hank Garland
Yeah,
and all the great recordings he was on with all the folks out in Nashville. And
Right.
he is probably my biggest guitar hero.
Sure.
If I had to pick one, and I've got many, but that's probably my number one. But
We just sitting here talking about, there was a guitarist here in town, Buster Kendrick, and Buster used to take me to Hank Garland's house,
I would love to.
and it was a fun experience. It taught me a lot about how people can get old and sick and hurt and have times to where they can still be a piece of themselves.
Right.
Most of the time I went, either didn't play or it was lackluster doodle,
Right.
but
Before
then,
his car wreck, he was.
yes,
I
but
would
this
say
was
he
after
on
the
top
car
of the
wreck.
game.
Yes, this was,
he could hang with
Yeah, he
any
could.
jazz masters. He was the jazz winds from a new direction. All
Yeah.
the pop country stuff
Sure.
he played on is just.
Sugarfoot Rag's a fabulous
I
song.
love that song.
You know?
That was, I've labored over that song for years.
Sure.
Still can't nail it, but that's one of my songs that I'm always working on.
Yeah, sure, and you probably always can, and you could run variations off of that the way that song is set up,
Right.
you could run endless variations off of it. I mean, it's a great song.
And I heard that originally the legend is that was just an exercise for him.
I think it was, yeah. I think.
Somebody said, "Hey, we need to record that."
Yeah,
And
I think
that's where
it
came
was one of the best fiddle players I've ever had the opportunity to interview. Is a guy named Casey Dreesen, and he's a kind of an avant-garde fiddle player, and he has a wonderful version of the Sugarfoot Rag,
from. Oh man.
and it's just totally different than anything else. It's a new age version of it, and it's just fabulous.
Well, John Five, who's a
Yeah,
rock
right,
guitarist, he's a huge Hank Garland fan,
Right.
and he does a metal version
Sure.
of Sugarfoot Rag. So, of course, Brent Mason.
Brent
all
Mason,
these
oh,
guys,
yeah.
That's the song,
It is.
especially if you're in country.
Yeah.
That's the song everybody
I agree.
wants to learn and play and master, and I don't think anyone can do it quite like Hank did.
He did it good, and he did it at a whole different time in music history than today.
He didn't have YouTube.
No, he didn't. No, he
He
didn't.
was listening to horn players.
Yeah.
And all the bebop guys,
Sure.
Tal Farlow from
Yeah.
here in North Carolina,
Right.
and North Carolina, a lot of people don't realize has such a rich history in
Oh,
jazz.
it does. It really
We were
does.
at crossroads between the North and the South, where people
Yeah.
just happened to meet up, and
Oh,
I'll tell you, North Carolina really is a rich history.
It is a rich. You can take it back to just about any style of music you want to find, and North Carolina played a huge part of it. I mean,
Most definitely.
monsters of any genre you can think of
Bluegrass,
came
we've
from
got
bluegrass,
some incredible
jazz players. North Carolina even has their jazz players, just like their bluegrass players, painted on buildings, murals
All over the
honoring
country.
all over. Yeah, yes. You go to this state and you can find everyone from Earl Scruggs and Don Gibson here to Thelonious Monk. I mean, you can find Roberta Flack.
Yes.
They're Randy
Elizabeth Cotton.
Randy Travis. They're all on sides of a building. One guy does this stuff. And it's just it just shows you just how wonderful the music is in North Carolina.
It is, and I think people are so distracted now. We have so many things vying for our attention.
Yeah.
Social media, TV, taking kids to their sport. I mean, there's
Sure.
so many things more than ever. I talked earlier about my grandparents exposed me. The earliest
Right.
exposure to music was my grandparents.
Yeah,
being
mine too.
supporters.
Yeah.
And in their day, that's all you went. Maybe you got to go to see the show downtown,
Sure.
but if you lived out in the country like all my family did, out in the mountains of western North Carolina and Robbinsville,
Right. That is in the middle of nowhere.
Ronnie Millsap.
Yeah, Ryan Mills. Yeah.
All you had to do was play music.
Sure. I mean, I grew
And they would
up.
listen to WSM and those stations and listen to these.
I grew up playing a lot of music on porches because that's
Yes.
what people did, And I was a kid, and everybody else was old,
Yeah, my first live music show was on my grandpa's
Yeah,
porch
sure.
right outside of Cherryl, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Listening to them, and it was really, really good stuff too.
Yeah. It
They
was-
were just killing it, and it's just
Sure.
You wish you'd had a recorder.
Oh God, so many
Now we
times.
have so many things just having us distracted, vying for our attention.
True.
It's hard for people to focus in and
Yeah, it is.
realize that we still have this very
And actually, the porch picking and stuff like that could go on still today. There's so many other things to do, And I think it's kind of morphed to the fire pit these days. A lot of people go out and play around the fire pit,
which
these
is
days.
great, too.
It's great. It's great. It really is. As long as you're playing somewhere, it's a good thing.
It is.
We don't really care. We can move it to a modern era and let them play wherever they want to.
And most definitely.
So, and school programs, people, if you pick up an instrument in school and learn it that way, that's great too.
Well, and that's how I really learned
Sure.
to be a musician was playing in school band.
Sure, I did too.
Learned to read music,
Yeah.
write. Mark Reese, who was my high school band director, who's retired now, he is one of my repair customers. We talk all the time, and he plays in Coming Up Brass.
Yeah, that's great. I know.
I play with those guys,
Yeah.
and so these school programs I think are vital
They
to keep
are.
people interested and to learn about
They are.
music. And you've got some really good programs. I work with the Piedmont Community Charter out of Gaston
Yeah.
County, and they have a great guitar program there.
Sure.
Bring up young students, learn to play guitar. So I think we should always make an effort to fund the arts.
I agree totally.
The Earl Scruggs Center, just a really great place.
It
a lot of history
it
here
is.
in the building.
And I will tell you this too: you can bring your child up here to the Earl Scruggs Center, and there is a room dedicated to musical instruments that they can put their hands on
Yes.
and play. They can everything from shakers to an upright bass to guitars. You can bring your and they're getting ready to offer a program of guitar for like 6 weeks. You know, you can come, you can use their guitars. It's like $15 for the whole deal. And Justin Harper will teach you how to play guitar in 5 weeks.
And so
Enough
that
to be-
is a great way to expose young people.
It
I'm always
really is.
a big fan of exposing young people hands-on.
Me too.
That's so important.
I've come up here, and they bring the children from the Boys and Girls Club, and I've been part of. They bring different musicians. I came up here and played harmonica, and Phil Ruff played, and we sang, and it was just amazing. It was children. You know, if you touch one person out of there that goes on to be another musician, you've done well.
Oh, most definitely.
You know, and they do that here, but there needs to be more of that.
There is. Yeah, I
You know,
agree. I
the
agree.
kids need to be exposed to music early
You
on.
know, and I love sports.
Sports are good.
Big golf fan. My shoulder's bummed now, and I can't play, but
Right.
I love golf. And the world's worst golf player. So, but sports has a shelf life.
Yeah.
I believe, like football, baseball.
Sure.
I love watching sports.
Yeah.
Racing, but it's a young person's game.
It
typically.
is. It is. Even if you're very successful at it, it's a small window of time where you're there
Music, you can take it to the grave. with
the
you.
whole your
You
whole
can-
life.
You can play. You can just grab up a guitar,
Sure.
walk out on the porch, and play music all your life.
You can.
I think I'm very happy that I had the opportunity to learn music and be part of the music community, especially here in Shelby.
Sure. Well, you know-
I made some of my best friends live up here.
Well, it's a good place. I live here, and I'm proud to say I live here. You know, I've lived a lot of places. I wasn't so proud to say I live there. You know, but actually here, I am. I see no shame in it.
You know, I live right outside of just east of Shelby,
Yeah.
near in Lincoln actually, and
Yeah.
it's about a 30-minute drive, and I'm up here several times a week,
Sure.
just hanging out, and it's always about music. I'm up here either working or playing or podcasting.
Yeah,
or,
it's great.
I was here with Daniel Costin here a few weeks back.
Yeah,
He and
yeah, I
Randy and
love-
I were taking pictures
Sure.
out here at the Earl Scruggs Center, so I'm always involved in the music community here.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. Yeah, I won't say that on air.
All right, we're going to have to mark this as an adult show, right?
Well, what I was going to say is, okay, all you people in Lincoln, y'all don't do so well. Got some good musicians over there, but they won't come and do the podcast. Exception, Tommy Smith, you're a good guy. Dirty Grass Soul is a really good band. Tommy, you're really good. Robbie Buff, you're a good guy. But the rest of you guys, you should take time to come do a podcast. Maybe Lincoln at some point, if they work on it, could be as cool as Shelby. But at this point, no. And I live there, so I can say it.
Well, I live about 5 minutes away in the laboratory. We have
Laboratory, I
we
know
have a
all
farm
about that,
there,
yes.
And so not too far away, but
Yeah.
I end up spending more time here in Shelby.
Yeah.
It's all around the music.
Yeah, it
and
is.
the venues and the
Yeah.
friends. And,
Sure.
So I think, like I said, this is a hidden gem.
It really is. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule because you are a very busy person.
And I apologize, I've had to cancel on you and reschedule, but I do stay busy, but I
That's
find
not
if
a
I
problem.
don't, I
you
probably get in trouble.
Well,
so.
busy is good. Busy is always. It's always better to be too busy than not busy at all.
Well, we've got a show coming up on March 3rd, Friday at Dragonfly with Stepside Deluxe. We're going to be there. Randy, Potter, bass player, Rick, we're all going to be there playing some good old honky tonk. That's what we honkabilly.
What else you got they need to know about? I mean, can they get in touch with you to sit them up if they need a repair?
Sure. fretgarage@gmail.com.
There you go.
Just the easiest way to get a hold of me, or Stepside Deluxe at Gmail is the band.
Okay.
And I keep a couple different emails with all my various interests going on. But
can they hire you as a sound man?
They can. Just give me a shout at any one of those email addresses, and I'll be happy to discuss the situation that you've got coming up. I do like working at Dragonfly because I've learned the room. It's a tricky room, but we've upgraded the equipment, and I love working there with Jamie, and he's, like I said, been super supportive. And I'm going to go there and hang out and work this afternoon.
There you go.
While I'm waiting on the show tonight.
Well, I will tell you, he ran sound for Big Sound Small Town Songwriter around the other week, and it was fabulous. It was really good.
Thank you.
We had a big crowd. Finally, we've hung with doing that long enough now to where we've gotten followers to come up there and do that. I mean, we started out
some good turnout.
Yeah,
and the Handsome Johnny.
Oh, the Handsome Johnny! Now
I love that.
Oh yeah, that works. People,
if you like Prine, you need to be. Even if you don't like Prine, you need to come up.
Well, you need to learn about John Prine. Maybe you will like him. Right. It's good stuff, and people seem to like him because they turn out good for that.
Right, and I'm planning on being there. I know this will air afterwards, but I'll be there for the Mardi Gras.
Oh, good! Mardi Gras show's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be.
That should be a lot of fun.
Tell you, folks, you're missing out if you don't get up to Shelby and check out the music. You can just park downtown and walk around on any night of the week, just about.
Sure, and I'm going to give you something that you probably don't know that's getting ready to happen this summer. The Don Gibson Theater is going to use the back loading dock for bands to play, local bands, this summer. And you can put your stuff out in the parking lots there too, which make a great outdoor thing. You can walk from town, you can go uptown to eat, walk right down there and hear live music, which that's going to be really cool.
That sounds like fun.
So we're always trying to make music better here.
Big fun.
Yep, big fun. Again, thank you for coming.
Thank you, Sandy. I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.